Welcome to the Untangled Mind podcast. I'm Piper Harris. Everywhere right now, you'll hear people saying there are 39 days until Christmas. Children buzzing with anticipation, adults preparing, worrying, decorating, or bracing themselves for the emotional weight the season can bring. But the truth is, we rarely bring that same intention to our healing. We count down to the holidays, but we don't count down to our own hope. In this episode, I want to flip that script. Instead of waiting passively for a life to change, we're going to use these 39 days to shift ourselves cognitively, emotionally, and behaviorally towards something better. These aren't resolutions or feel-good slogans. In fact, they're deliberate shifts that can cultivate clarity and resilience. And at the end of the day, I'm adding a 40th shift, the one that anchors all hope at its deepest level. If you've been tired, stuck, overwhelmed, or simply going through the motions, this episode is for your reorientation. A reminder that hope isn't something you wait for, it's something you build, one day at a time. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to the Untangled Mind podcast. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. So I have to share, I'm in one of my most favorite spots in my house, and it's even more of my favorite. So I spent about 9 hours yesterday decorating the house for Christmas. Yes, I know it's before Thanksgiving, it's the 16th, but um, when I decorate for Christmas, it just brings me so much joy. And so I think for a lot of people, we're looking at the end of the year. There's a lot of either just the busyness of, holidays and preparing for that, or there's the dread that comes along with it. I think for me too, when we get to the end of the year, I am contemplating the whole year, looking toward, or looking behind how the year was and how things went. And I have to be really honest, 2025 has been an extraordinarily difficult year for me. I haven't shared a lot of it, but personally, I became ill back in January. And finally, I'm talking ill. Like I got hit by a battering ram with all of my joints, extreme pain, losing my hair, foggy headedness. I didn't know what was like, I couldn't find words. Um, I just can't even explain. I had 7 infections. I went to minor emergency 6 times. I had a 3-week bloody nose. I can't tell you. It's been a really, really difficult year. I've been to every doctor under the sun, normal doctors, hematologists, functional doctors, rheumatologists, you name it. I have been through it. And so I finally broke free from it about September, so almost exactly 40 days, excuse me, from today. And ultimately, we're not sure what happened. Some people are pointing actually towards long COVID, which frankly, I know this sounds terrible. I thought was a bunch of bunk, and I just tried pushing through. But all that to say, for me, yesterday was a long day decorating the house, but it gives me joy and it gives me hope for the season, and it helps me to shake off really, truly what's been a really, really, really difficult year. There's a lot of blessings mixed in there, but all that to say, when I decorate for Christmas and when I have my home decorated like this, and it is kind of like Christmas threw up over my house. I have 4 Christmas trees in my house, so it's a little crazy. But it gives me hope. It gives me hope of, hey, Piper, this year has sucked. It has been really, really hard, but it helps me shift toward hope. It helps me shift toward better thinking. It helps me shift out of the why was this year so hard? It helps me shift out of I should have done better. All of the things that all of us run from. And I recognize that this time of year is not the time of year that everybody loves and enjoys. And frankly, if I'm being honest, when it comes to some of the things that I have to do family wise, it's not exactly fun for me either. Um, but I wanted today's podcast to talk about these shifts. We have to choose shifts. How often do we count down to the holidays? You're not counting down towards how you're going to change your life. I was thinking about that this morning as I'm preparing this podcast. We count down to the holidays. We count down to Christmas. We count down to Thanksgiving. We have countdowns to these events, yet none of us count down to hope. None of us count down to the day that we find relief and healing. None of us do that. And we've got to shift that. And so today, what I'm going to provide you is a list of 39 shifts toward hope. So I really encourage you to grab a pen and some paper, or simply, jot down a couple, not all 39, that you can deliberately use in the next 39 days to shift you toward hope. We too often count down to events, but we never count down to what we are looking forward to for ourselves, what we are striving toward. And that's what I hope this podcast does, is it shifts you. It shifts you towards the hopefulness of who you can become. So let's step into this list of the 39 shifts toward hope. Number one, I want you to name the barrier, not the symptom. Too often, people want to only look at the symptom, that these are the things. I get it. I've been there. What were the symptoms that I was up against this last year? Way too many for me to list. But here's the thing, it's a symptom, it's not a barrier. I kept trudging through and it sucked. But we've got to name the barrier, not the symptom. Are you anxious? Okay, I get you're anxious, but what's the barrier? Don't name the symptom of anxiety. What truly is the barrier that's holding you back? Really think about this. Number two, stop negotiating with avoidance. We think it's helping us in the short term. It does in the short term, but in the long term, it makes things so much worse. Number two, stop negotiating with avoidance. Stop hitting that pause button, because ultimately that thing that you're avoiding is still waiting for you. Number three, I want you to replace I can't with I'm learning to. I can't to I'm learning to. How many times in the last week did you say I can't? I can't do that because. I can't do this because. Really? You can't? The simple shift of saying I am learning to, or I'm walking toward, is going to really shift your thinking. These are not silly things that I'm coming up with. These actually work with our brain. Simply this reframe, from I can't to I'm learning to, teaches the brain to shift toward hope. But if you're constantly replaying I can't, well, you won't. Number four, I want you to identify one thought this week that is categorically untrue. One thought this week that's categorically untrue. I know you've got them. I know I've got them. You've got to find it and deliberately find it and say no more. Dig through your thoughts, dig through what you say out loud. What is one that is categorically untrue, and get it out. Number five, I want you to reduce catastrophic language by 50%. Catastrophic language is, well, if this happens, then this happens, or they didn't call, so then they must hate me. Whatever your catastrophic language is, I want you to cut it down by half. I'm not telling you to completely turn it off, because you can't do that. And then we're going to step into this, these affirmation crap that I've talked about before that doesn't work. This is not sunshine and unicorns, but we are making deliberate choices toward hope. So we're going to cut our catastrophic language by half. So if it's, I just won't get these opportunities because of the mistakes I've made in my life, hold on a second, cut that by half. Step into hope by another 50%. Number six, practice one act of deliberate slowness each day. Last week, I talked about the need for rest this season. Rest is imperative, but if you're constantly chasing, you're constantly running, maybe it's just with avoidance, not really towards something, then you're missing out. So I want you to practice one act of deliberate slowness each day. Is that at the end of the day before you turn your lights out at bedtime, doing a practice of gratitude or prayer? Okay. Or maybe you're practicing one act of deliberate slowness each day by rising in the morning and setting your intentions for the day. Practice one act of deliberate slowness each day. Number seven, call out emotional reasoning when it shows up. Come on, emotional reasoning. Well, I feel this way, so therefore it is this way. Well, I feel like I'm a failure, so therefore I am a failure. What do I say? If you've been listening to me for any time at all, feelings aren't facts. So call out that emotional reasoning when it shows up. Number eight, I want you to shift from rumination to a written concern plan. When we ruminate, we're stuck in our head with that what if monster chasing us down the hallway. What we need to do is take it out of your head and write it down. If you are that concerned, I want you to write a concern plan. Shift from the what ifs to, okay, I'm concerned about the holiday season because I'm having to deal with my crazy Uncle Joe. Fine, write your concern plan. How are you going to handle your crazy Uncle Joe at the Christmas table? Maybe you're ruminating on, what am I going to do? I'm newly single. I've lost my spouse. I don't know what to do. Okay, write down your concern plan. What are you going to do? How are you going to tackle it? Number 9, I want you to replace self-judgment with self-responsibility. Oof, that's a big one, isn't it? So many times we sit there, we judge ourselves so harshly, but really what that is it's this lack of responsibility taking. We're going to criticize ourselves rather than be responsible how we can shift that thinking. And listen, self-responsibility doesn't mean self-flagellation. So rather than judging yourself harshly, which just makes you paralyzed, I want you to take responsibility over one of those things, one of those thoughts of self, one of that thoughts of self-judgment, and turn it into self-responsibility. How can you shift that thinking? This is not self-flagellation. This is taking responsibility for those thoughts and actions. Number 10, I want you to tell the truth about it, and even when it hurts. So tell the truth about what hurts, excuse me. It is so hard for us to vulnerably step into what we're dealing with. So many times I see this with my beloved clients, and I'm not just saying that. I really, truly care for my clients so deeply. But they don't want to tell the truth about what hurts because they're afraid that I'm going to stand in judgment of them. Or they just can't speak those words out loud. But I am telling you, there is a freedom and a weight lifted when we tell the truth about what hurts. Number 11, I want you to track one small win per day on paper. Yep, I know this is kind of affirmation-esque, but it's really not. If we're constantly looking at the worst case scenario in our lives, when we actually track those small wins, it makes a difference. Maybe it's just that you made your bed for the day. Okay, that's a great small win. Maybe it's somebody that smiled at you on the way into the grocery store. That's a win. That's somebody showing you kindness. Maybe you did something that was different. Maybe you got a attaboy at the office. It's okay for you to track one small win per day. It is. It's okay and it's good for you. All right, number 12, I want you to stop collecting grievances. Please stop collecting grievances and collect data instead. So many times people collect grievances that they perceive or the things that have been done to them. Listen, I get it. I collect them too. But what does it do except pile on this darkness? We feel like we're heaped under these grievances. People did this to me or this happened to me. Okay, well, I want you to collect data instead. Sure, maybe life has handed you a lot of crappy things. I get it. I had 9 months worth this year. I understand. But you know what? I had to shift toward hope. So I started collecting data. Okay, well, the rheumatologist told me I didn't have this. Okay, the hematologist said I didn't have this. Okay, the functional doctor actually helped me see this. Okay, this doctor helped me see this. I collect data. I took the things away that it told me what wasn't wrong with me rather than sitting there and saying, woe is me. When we get stuck in that, we can't move forward. So stop collecting grievances and start collecting data instead. Data is factual. Data is factual. You might have things where people have caused great harm in your life. You might have that. Are you still walking and talking today? That's data. Data is factually based, and some of it might be painful data, but it doesn't all have to be painful. You're still stuck sitting there in only the negative. Number 13, notice where you hide from yourself. This is a big one. A lot of us aren't thinking about our thinking or recognizing our darker part of ourselves, that shadow self that Carl Jung talks about. Notice where you hide from yourself. It's so very important for us to be able to truly see ourselves. Number 14, I want you to sit with discomfort for at least 16 seconds, 60 seconds, longer than you want to. If we can hold out in that discomfort for at least 60 seconds longer, then it gives us the ability to ride that wave. We talk about this so often, riding that wave of discomfort. Don't give in. There's that HALT acronym that we also often hear in alcohol recovery circles, but it works. HALT: hungry, angry, anxious, lonely, tired. If you are sitting in discomfort and you say, okay, am I hungry? Am I angry or anxious? Am I lonely or tired? And if you say yes, hold on for 60 seconds, and that tidal wave that you're feeling will begin to dissipate. Number 15, reduce emotional exaggeration by naming the exact emotion. Come on, y'all. Some of you are so emotional. Now listen, emotions, they are good. They're indications. It's why I decorated the snot out of my house yesterday, because I just needed joy. I got exhaustion too, but dang, you should see this house. It's gorgeous. But we have to reduce emotional exaggeration because it blurs us to what's really going on. So by naming the exact emotion, we lowered the distress of that emotional exaggeration. This is name it to tame it. This has been coined by Dr. Daniel Siegel. Reduce emotional exaggeration. Y'all know if you're overly emotional because people have told you. So reduce it. Reduce it by naming the exact emotion, not mad, sad, glad. Go onto my website. You can find an emotional wheel that you can download for free. Number 16, challenge one long held belief that has never served you. We all have them. Challenge it. One long held belief that has never served you. Maybe my past has always defined who I can be in my future. Does it? Come on, challenge that one long held belief. Maybe that one long held belief is I can never be loved, or I'll never have a family, or I'll never be good enough. Challenge it. It's not serving you, it's keeping you trapped. Number 17, remove one habitual escape behavior for 1 week. 1 week. So maybe you have too much wine at the end of the day, ladies. I know it's mommy wine o'clock. I get it. I did it too. I'm going on 3 months now with nothing. Remove one habitual escape behavior for 1 week and see what kind of clarity you gain. Number 18, act as if your future self is watching. Yeesh. Maybe you don't think your future self is all that great. Okay, well, what's your legacy going to be? Act as if your future legacy is watching. The legacy that you truly want, the one that you don't utter out loud because you think it's just inconceivable. Well, I want you to act as if that future self, that future legacy is watching. That should change your behavior. Number 19, I want you to create a daily 10-minute thinking time without distraction. Now, thinking time, I don't want ruminations, so typically this is really helpful if you do your thinking out loud into maybe a voice memo or writing it down. By doing this is creating a deliberate 10-minute practice of saying, this is on my mind. Maybe it's a brain dump, I'm getting it out on paper, or it's helping you shift through those thought processes. Oftentimes when I do a 10-minute thinking time, I move with it. Movement helps me really make considerable change in my thinking patterns. I had a client recently say to me that they were at the gym and they were working out, and the music, and between the working out, they broke down and cried and said, this is crazy. Why did this happen? I'm like, because you were processing bilateral stimulation along with the music, along with thinking. There you go. You just processed what you needed. So create a 10-minute thinking time without distraction. Number 20, substitute one complaint with one constructive action. Stop complaining. What's one constructive action? I'm not saying, again, rainbows and unicorns. I'm not saying one positive for one negative. It's not that easy, but you can substitute one complaint with one constructive action. I know you can do it. Think about how you're going to do it and do it. Number 21, you've got to define your values in one sentence. Do you even know what your values are? Most people don't. I've done value exercises with clients. In fact, it's in my workbooks. But if you don't know what your values are, then you're not going to know where you're going. So you've got to work to define your values in one sentence. If you've never done a value sort, do a quick online search and you can find some online value sorts. Or if you want a value sort, I've got them in my workbooks. But you've got to learn to define your values in one sentence, because therefore then it is that kind of filter where you choose the way you're thinking, you choose the way you're acting. You got to know your values. What are they? Number 22, I want you to speak to yourself the way you speak to your therapist, not harsher or not softer. So speak to yourself the way you speak to your therapist. Now, I encourage my clients to be harsh with me because sometimes they need to exercise that voice with me. But what I want to say is you are awful to yourself. You speak to yourself in such a terrible way. So many times my clients are so dear, they don't want me to know the things that are going through their head, or they don't want me to hear the traumas that they've been through. I hear this so much. They want to protect me from that. Hold on a second. I want you to speak to me. I want you to speak to yourself in the way that maybe I speak to you, or even the softest way that you would like me to speak to you. Does this make sense? It doesn't make sense as I'm saying it out loud, but speak to yourself in a better way, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. Not harsh, not overly soft, but the way you speak to yourself is abysmal. I get it. I do that too, but we've got to learn to speak to ourselves in a different way. All right, here's another one, which I love. I want you to read something that's challenging, not comforting this week. Listen, I have had a lot of people tell me about all these self-help books that they've been reading, but nothing brings them comfort. They're not learning anything. That's because it's saccharine. It's saccharine. It's sweet. It makes the medicine go down kind of really quickly. And then all of a sudden you're left with the same nonsense. If you have dozens of self-help books and you're not feeling any relief, that's because you're reading sugar. So I'm challenging you, read something difficult. Maybe this is old literature. Listen, reading old literature is difficult because the language in and of itself is so different than it is today. Or read something challenging from someone that's not just going to give you these little sugar epitaphs like, let it be, please, people. I know I've really complained about this all year long, but you've got to stop. It's not helping you. It helps you in the moment, but I guarantee you the person that told me 15 times this year that the let it be, it was so great, it's not lasting anymore, is it? Because it's a sugary epitaph. So read something challenging, not comforting, once this week. Once this week. I'm not saying the news. I'm saying maybe pick up a philosopher. How about that? Aristotle, Plato. Maybe you need to grab something that's challenging. Scripture, that might do it. I really challenge you to read something challenging, not all this comfort crap. Number 24, I want you to audit your environment for chaos. Audit your environment for chaos and then make an action to clear it out. Chaos in any environment, especially in our physical environment, creates a chaotic mind, even more so in women's minds. So audit your environment for chaos and take care of it, one little thing at a time. You're not going to feel better if your environment is total and utter chaos. This might even look like somebody looking at a different job. I know that's a big deal, but sometimes we got to audit that environment for chaos in order for us to thrive and just survive. Number 25, notice what triggers acceleration in your nervous system. Our body whispers before our brain picks up on what's going on. So notice what triggers that acceleration in your nervous system. Is your chest tight? Do you get kind of a sick stomach? Do your hands get clammy? Do you get a ringing in your ears? You need to recognize what triggers that acceleration in your nervous system so that you understand that you're on your way to being out of control. So then, therefore, you step into regulation activities. And you can read about vagal activation on my website. Number 26, delay impulsive decisions by 5 minutes. This is a hard one, especially this time of year. This time of year is not necessarily the best time of year for everybody. So we're doing some pretty impulsive things just to feel better in that moment. We're just looking for that really quick dopamine. It doesn't work, y'all. So delay that impulsive decision by 5 minutes. Get up and move, get doing something different, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's porn, whether it's shopping. I don't know what your impulsive decision is, but hold off by 5 minutes and deliberately go do something else. Number 27, I want you to choose precision over drama in your language. Please, Choose precision over drama in your language. This reminds me, there's some hullabaloo that took place in my HOA in my neighborhood. And a woman decided that she wanted to come to my house and tell me what for, which was really bold because I never gave her my address. So I thought that was pretty bold to show up on my doorstep. But all that to be said, her tone was, I don't appreciate you telling me that I was rude. She didn't like me telling her that she was rude to me on a Facebook post. Here's the funny thing. She didn't choose precision in her language over that. She wanted the drama. And I just looked at her and I said, nor did I appreciate your choice and your deliberate choice of the words you used towards me. And she didn't know what to do. Because what she did was she chose drama in her language over precision. You will cut down the strife in your life if you just take a beat. Take a breath before you feel that impulse to be dramatic in your language. Take a beat. I had an old client from about 2 years ago email me and say, I need you to write a diagnosis for me. So I just have this. And I said, this is not making sense. Tell me what's wrong. Well, what happened was they were impulsive and dramatic in their language and they lost their job and they wanted me to write them something to get them out of it. What did I do? I precisely said, this is on your shoulders. This is your responsibility. You chose drama in your language and impulsiveness over precision. So my reminder to everybody this season, and I get it because I got some people in my life that push my buttons this time of year, choose precision in your language over drama. Take a beat, take a breath. Number 28, ask, what is the most responsible step? Responsible is not you avoiding it. Responsible is not you sitting on your butt. Responsible is not all the things you're probably doing right now. What is the most responsible next step to take? Don't blame your lack of inactivity on other people. What is your most responsible next step? Sometimes the most responsible next step is taking responsibility for your lack of steps. So number 28, ask what is the most responsible next step. Number 29, reduce emotional outsourcing, take ownership of your reactions. Well, they made me act like this. Well, she said that, so I did this. Stop it. Reduce your emotional outsourcing and take ownership of your own reactions. Woo! That's going to be tough this holiday season. I get it. People are already starting to drive like jerks on the road. But you got to take ownership of your own reactions. Number 30, practice one daily act of regulation, not indulgence. So a lot of times, like we say, well, this is self-care. Self-care is not eating another carton of ice cream. That's definitely indulgence. So practice one daily act of regulation, not indulgence. What is that one daily act of regulation? Mine is every day I get up and I pray for an hour. Yep, a whole hour. Number 31, question one narrative you have inherited, not created. Too often we are walking through life with a narrative that has been given and passed down to us for generations. We talk about this in my workbooks. We talk about our anxiety narrative or our trauma narrative. Maybe there's a familial context. Maybe there's a cultural context. Question one narrative that you have inherited, not created. Do all you can to break free of it. Number 32, name one thing you're avoiding because you believe it will hurt. Discomfort is required in this life, so choose your suck. Name one thing you're avoiding because you believe it will hurt, and then step through it. Number 33, define what relief would actually look like for you. We talk about this before we even begin counseling with me. I have my clients come up with resolved statements. What does that look like? If you don't know what relief looks like, how do you know what you're working toward? You can't have this nebulous idea. Sit down, figure it out, think about it. What woman do you want to be? What man do you want to be? How do you get there? What's the relief? What does it look like? How does it feel? How do you talk? How do you behave? Define what relief would really look like for you. Number 34, stop expecting progress to feel good. Just like I said before, sometimes we just have to embrace the suck. But we've got to stop expecting that this progress that we're making is always going to feel good. It won't. Sometimes it doesn't feel good, but it's worth it. Not everything feels good. Stop trying to achieve it. Number 35, refuse to confuse familiarity with safety. This happens so often to us because we get stuck in a rut, don't we? And so we confuse that familiarity as safety, but it's not. It's the very thing that's keeping us trapped. So recognize what it is that's keeping you trapped, that's been lying to you and saying it's safe when it's just familiar. Refuse to confuse familiarity with safety. Number 36. Yep, 36. Let go of the fantasy that healing is passive. I tell my clients when they have a consultation or people that come to me and they want to work with me, and I tell them, listen, this is not a passive process. I expect you to do your homework. I expect you to engage with me. I expect you to work on this. It is not passive. And guess what? A lot of people don't want to do it, but we don't do passive. We don't do passive in this life. And if you're constantly doing passive, then you're the one who's constantly saying you can't get along or if things aren't happening for you. Well, that's because you're passive. You can't keep blaming others. Let go of the fantasy that healing is passive. That is not the case. Number 37, tell yourself the plain truth about what needs to change. Yep. If you don't know what the plain truth is, ask a friend, ask a coworker, ask your spouse, ask a family member. You got to figure out what the plain truth is and what needs to change. Whatever you're telling yourself doesn't necessarily mean that's the truth. It doesn't. Oftentimes we tell ourselves lies because that's that familiarity, right? Number 38, be courageous enough to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. Oof. This is a heavy one this time of year, isn't it? A lot of times we are conforming to what's the expectation, right? But be courageous enough to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. Speak up. This doesn't mean fight. But maybe your mother is overly critical every time she visits your home at Christmas time. Maybe you speak up. Hey, Mom, if you want to be rude, why don't you go hang out in the other room and read the newspaper? Be courageous enough to disappoint people who benefit from your silence. You can do it. And finally, number 39 on how to shift towards hope. I want you to choose discipline over mood for one decision per day. You can't be led by your emotions. They're definitely indicators and they can definitely be wonderful, like me decorating my house and being filled with joy. But you have to choose discipline over mood for one decision per day. Got to. Because if you're only led by emotions, you're going to be in trouble. So these are the 39 ways I believe that you can shift toward hope. Now, I have a bonus shift. So this is number 40. I want you to consider returning to the source of hope. It's just one more shift and it stands apart from the rest. So we always talk about holiday countdowns and about gifts and, gatherings and routines, but the true countdown, I believe, leads to the celebration of Jesus Christ's birth. Really, that's what I think it's about. And it's in that moment that hope actually entered our world. And it really is not an idea, it is a person. I challenge you to learn who Jesus is. He is the most well-known but well-documented person in history. If you find that you can't do any of the other 39 shifts, if like the idea of that is just way too heavy, and if your patterns feel just way too entrenched, or maybe your mind is just way too heavy in carrying the weight of it all, then I really do urge you to consider him. Not as a concept, not as this like cultural symbol, but as the one who actually provides hope that doesn't collapse under pressure. I know that if you have no idea who Jesus is, and I know that this sounds wild to you, but what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose if you feel like you've already lost everything? What do you have to lose if you put that shift towards the one, I promise you, the one that really brings hope? And what a time in our world and in our calendar to consider this. Psychology can give us tools, right? I just gave you 39 CBT tools, but faith gives us a foundation that those tools will work. Faith is the thing that we stand on. There is absolutely a steadiness available to you, and it is not dependent on your mood, your circumstance, or your personal strength at all. And if you feel like hope is out of reach, you don't have to manufacture it. You can return to only one who offers it fully. These are not resolutions, they are directional shifts, small pivots that over time form a new trajectory. Jesus can do it. So, as we move toward the holiday season, many people are counting down to joy, others to stress, and some to a day that they would prefer to sleep through. I get it. But you can choose a different orientation altogether. You can use these 39 days to deliberately shift your life toward hope, clarity, and stability. That brings us to the end of this episode. Thanks so much for joining me, Piper Harris with the Untangled Mind podcast. I hope you learned some tools that can equip you to untangle your mind and untangle your life. If you're curious about working with me for your anxiety or trauma, head on over to my website at untangledmind.net to connect with me. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and review me on your podcast listening platform and share it with your friends and family. As always, thanks so much for listening to me, Piper Harris with the Untangled Mind podcast. I'll talk with you next time.